Hello again, I'm Tordan, and this is Advanced Voxelmancy 202, Extrusions, Offsets, and Flats. Before we get started today, I'd like to do a couple of things. One is say thank you to everybody who's supported these videos. Really appreciate it. Second, I've been getting a bunch of questions about whether I have any libraries and various things to give away. So I'm a teach a man to fish kind of person. So I am giving away this 1/8 wedge as a teaching tool, but I don't actually give away my other libraries. The good news is, however, there are plenty of other people who maintain libraries and have plenty of blueprints and voxel libraries out there for you. So just wanted to clear that up. So today, what we're going to talk about is offsets, flats, and extrusions. And it's really about making this sort of thing, where you see I have a solid voxel right there, one voxel, and then I have two pillars reaching out to touch it, but they're not distorting. Normally, if I was going to have a pillar and attach it to here one way or the other, they would be sharing these vertices, and therefore they would meld into one another. The other thing that has been asked of me a lot is about foreshadowing and reiteration. So I do, in fact, talk a little bit about what I might be covering in some next videos, and or reiterate some of the stuff I've covered in previous videos. This is by intent. It's a common teaching method to help reinforce and strengthen knowledge. So it's definitely by intent. So this 1/8 wedge that we have right here, I'm going to reiterate that I count when I'm working with this one from 0 here out to 8 at the far end, and then 8 this way, and then 8 up. And it's always, forward, sideways, and up, which is the way that this wedge is designed. So if I want the center, I will call it 0, 0, 0. And if I want the corner, I will call it 4, 4, 4. And that's because I'm going 4 this way, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 4 this way, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 4 up, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and that lets me quickly move to the one I want, because I can visualize how many eighths across I'm working with. So if I want to make a 1/4 wide pillar that goes up through the center of a voxel and ends at the wall of each each wall of that voxel, then if I go first to the wall, so that's the 4, then I go over 1 and up 1. This is my 411 reactor. All right, so we're going to highlight this, copy that out of here, come over here, and we're going to paste it right here. All right, now this is the upper corner. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to post it right there. Now, if I take this one and I rotate it, so another question that was asked a lot is, how are you doing the rotation? So the way rotation works is, if I'm facing a block right here, and then I hold down the R key and I scroll my mouse wheel, I can rotate it like this. All right. If I were on the top and I hold down the R key and I use my mouse wheel, it rotates this way, forward and back, depending on which way I spin my mouse wheel. All right. Same thing with this face right here. I can spin it and rotate it. All right. So if I have my reactor right here and I hold down the R key and I spin it, so now it's in the lower corner, so I'm going to put that over here. Also, to flip, same principle, except you just tap the R key. So if I'm here and I tap the R key, it flips it this way, and then it flips it back. If I'm here, it flips it along the other axis and then back. If I'm here facing this side panel here, then I flip it, it flips over and back. All right. So again, I have that corner, so now I'm going to go ahead and rotate again to get this corner. like this, and then I'm going to rotate it one more time to go up to there. All right, so now I have the same reactor. It is rotated 4 times. Again, I also work with colored reactors a lot, like I did this corner right here, but today, for these tutorials, I've been using the monochrome actually to make it simpler and easier to see, because specifically this black corner right here, this black reactor, is always the one that's furthest away from center. All right, so you see these are all flush now against the far wall, and each one is furthest away from center now in a different direction. All right, so if I was going to build my 1/4 inch post, as it were, so the first one that I put up, I'm going to put here, and then I'm going to grab this other black one, which has been rotated. Now, normally when I'm working, I don't move the entire reactor. I just grab the 2 corners and rotate it. I did the entire reactor so that it was a little bit clearer and easier to see what it was I was doing. All right. Normally I would just grab these 2, rotate them, and put them in the appropriate place. But this time around, I've been laying out the whole reactor, and you can too. If it's unclear to me necessarily which way the rotations are going to go, it's much easier to rotate the entire reactor until you've got the point in the orientation you want it, and then grab the appropriate reactor corner. It's just much easier to visualize sometimes. All right, so I've laid these out this way. Now when I grab this, go ahead and place it here, and now we have a flat. This flat is a 1/4 voxel wide, but it's centered. All right, so it's basically 1/8 of a voxel this way and 1/8 of a voxel this way, hence my 4-1-1 position. All right, now what's the difference between an extrusion and an offset? All right, at some level an offset is a variation of an extrusion, but it's definitely a little bit different. I'm going to clean up my mess right here. The easiest way to do that is just go ahead and drop a reactor in here, highlight the reactor, and then delete it. Always leave your workspace neat. All right, so now I'm just going to go ahead and go back over here and grab this again. All right, now if I extrude this, 1, 2, 3 up, 1 over, drop it, come back to the center and drop it again, I am extruding this flat out to outside the primary voxel space. So I'm going to grab the center, undo twice, go back up and paste it. Now this is both an extrusion and an offset. I call it an offset because there's really nothing left of the voxel inside the primary space. The primary space is, you know, in the middle of this yellow bar right here. All right, but the entire voxel is offset to the outside. If I have a piece that's still inside the primary voxel space, then I call it an extrusion. And it's really, you know, no particular fancy reason for that, except, you know, it's sort of basic English word meaning of extrusion versus offset. And so now I have this piece right here. All right, so this is my offset version of my post. All right, if I take this same flat, all right, and I can, if I were to extrude it the other direction, I would wind up really just with a post through the middle of my voxel. I can also accomplish that, a little bit of a shortcut, by simply so I'm actually going to replicate this first. So I'm going to just copy this whole thing, go up 1 to the same place I am, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you drop these reactors 4 apart, they don't, you know, get in each other's way. So if I go ahead and grab this right here and copy it, and then we're going to go ahead and invert it this way, all right, and then push it over to where this is, and then we're going to hold down the Shift key and click there. By the way, the Shift key doesn't work with the arrows and page up and page down at this time. Hopefully that's a bug that will get fixed. but at the time I was recording this, it does not. So instead I use the holding down the T key and the mouse wheel to move forward and back away from my surface. So if I hold down T and spin the mouse wheel, I can move here, and then when I get to the location, I can hold down the Shift key and do the Shift Replace, which changes the dominance and pulls this piece out to here. All right, so now we have a post that's here that's a 1/4 post that goes straight through the thing. It's flush with the surface of the voxel, both front and back. And this one is an offset of that same thing. All right, now if I take these two, if I go ahead and copy this, and we'll go ahead and run this up, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we grab these two here again, and we come over here, and again holding down the T key, going out 1 tick to here, placing that, forgetting to hold down my Shift key, so doing it again, pulls it out to here. All right, so this one is not offset at all. It's just extruded, right? It's both inside the prime space and extruded out. This is only one voxel, but it takes up the space of 2. All right. The advantage to this is if I take this and I set it up against this right here, so if I set it up this way, it's going to do this, right? But if I rotate it here, move it away 1 and set it down, it doesn't. And the reason is the voxel's here. This space right here is empty. Okay? So that is extruded out and therefore doesn't exist in this space, therefore doesn't interact with this voxel here, even though it's visually there. All right. If I don't want it to be too long this way, right, I just want it to be 1 long, then I just use the offset. So if I come back over here and I grab this offset, again I'm highlighting the entire reactor, holding down my control key, scrolling my mouse wheel, and copying this. So now you can see from the way that this is grabbed where the blue box is where the voxel really is, but it looks like it's over there. Again, I can spin this around using the R key. I can come out to here and set it down, and I get the same effect, right? There's a voxel here, but it isn't here. It's 1 over to the right. All right. The downside of this, of course, sort of, not really a downside, but you got to get used to the idea, is that when I place this voxel right here, there's a voxel here in this empty space. All right. So if I place this here, all right, it goes ahead and meets the vertices of this voxel, which are pushed over to here, and so I get this shape right there, which is, you know, cool. I can copy this. This is also now an extruded voxel. All right. The other thing is, it's not necessarily something that I want everybody to pay attention to exactly the pieces that I'm making. It's about the concepts here, about extruding and offsetting pieces and then being able to work with those. All right. At the beginning of this video, I flew past some railings and stuff. All of those pieces have, I mean, that array that I showed at the very, very beginning, all of that stuff, you have to offset and extrude pieces to make that stuff, because otherwise it would be all melding together like this, and you'd basically wind up with giant blobs. All right, which is why I started off there. So we've talked about flats. The other thing you can do with flats is make all sorts of, you know, interesting, odd shapes that are, well, flat. So I can go out to here, and you'll see this merges this way, and then I can go up a little bit and set it down again, and I'm making additional pieces. When you have flats like this, you're going to note that there are some bugs in the game where things don't necessarily render flat, even though they are flat. And I'd like to give a small hint. If you go ahead and grab this and copy it into the clipboard, and then look at the clipboard version. And if the clipboard version is flat, but the rendered version isn't, then you know, there's nothing wrong with your vertices. They are in the correct place. And as the game progresses, more and more of these bugs, again, this is being recorded in beta, so there are some minor bugs with rendering still in the game, and we expect that those will be fixed eventually. So if you're watching this later on and these bugs are not here anymore, then lucky you. We are, anyway, so that's flats and why you make them. And how you use them to make extrusions and offsets. Keep in mind that flats do not have to be against the voxel wall. I made this one from the 411 piece, but I can just as easily make one that starts in a completely different place. So for instance, if I were instead to grab, oh, I don't know, pick a reactor at random right here. So I'm going to grab this one. All right. Find a little bit of an empty space right here. Go up. All right. So again, normally if I want to work with a flat and I'm working with, and I can do this with separate reactors too, but let's say I want to replace these bottom two with this one and make it symmetrical. So I'm just going to go ahead and rotate here, come down to here, use the T key in the mouse wheel to push it over here, hold down my shift, go ahead and paste it in, and it replaces those two vertices with two more. Then let's see, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to grab, oh, I don't know, this one right here. All right, now notice I'm grabbing the black one because I want the furthest away from the center corner of my reactor. But then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to rotate it in this direction and go ahead and push it in and hold my shift key and paste that in there. And then let's go ahead and grab, oh, I don't know, this one. Whoops, I'm going to grab this corner. And of course you don't have to use this outer corner. If you want to push something in, you can use one of the other ones, but for this particular demonstration I'm using the outer corner. Again, we'll go ahead and we'll rotate this. And we'll go in and hold down our shift key and paste. All right, so now we have a flat. All right, this flat is kind of, you know, warped here a little bit. Let's say I was making a sail, right, on a ship, and I don't want my sail to look blocky. I want it to look like it has wind in it. Well, this might be the beginning of a sail. All right, experiment. Make things. One of the reasons I don't give away libraries is because I honestly want you to make your own. The whole point to these videos is to learn to be an advanced voxelmancer. It's not, oh, look, you have to be an advanced voxelmancer to watch these videos. It's, this is how you become and learn the tools that give you the ability to make all of these really cool things. So hopefully you found this one useful. Again, this was Advanced Voxelmancy 202, and I look forward to seeing you again.